We'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. We appreciate your involvement in our meeting tonight. We have realized that everybody that's here had flood issues, and as a county and the Canal Company and Price City, we've been working together to try to figure out really what happened and what can be done to help mitigate so it doesn't happen again. And so we're going to have Justin Needles, our emergency response coordinator, begin tonight and give you some a heads up in some areas, and then Lincoln Irvine, or the county engineer, will take some additional time. I think it's impossible for us tonight to listen to any more of what flooding occurred to your individual properties. We're aware it affected a lot of people. So the goal tonight is to help give you an update on really what can be done and what we're doing. So, Justin, we'll have to. This is being streamed live. It can also, you could pick it up. Barry, where can they see it later?
Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, so the county's Facebook and YouTube.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those who don't know, I'm Justin Needles. I'm the county emergency manager. My job is to plan for large-scale disasters, respond to, mitigate, and recover from those. And so we understand a lot of you have been impacted. And like Larry said, we don't have time probably tonight to get to all of your comments. What we do have, first thing, is a sign-in sheet. And so if you want to be contacted further about your specific problems or something that we don't address tonight, please, I'll pass this along, fill your name out, your contact information, and then we'll get a hold of you later. So if you're looking for more comments, please fill this out. We'll just start it and pass it along. We've had quite a few comments and concerns about several different things. I hope to address some of those things up front. The first is, we put out on the sheriff's office page a study, or if you were had damages, on a form to fill out. A lot of the people assume that that's for funding. What that really does is helps us as the county and us as the state. So when you think of disasters, a lot of people think of FEMA and that they're going to come in and help us. So Carbon County, when we have a disaster, we can declare a disaster. When FEMA looks at a disaster, they look at dollars. And they don't look at dollars damage to houses. They look at dollars damage to public infrastructure. And they continue to raise the rates. And so they look at it as a per capita. So right now, I think the per capita number is like $4.72 per person in our county. And so that equates to be just about $100,000 in public infrastructure damages for Carbon County to sustain to declare a disaster. What is missing in that is there is a local disaster and there's a statewide disaster. So for Carbon County to go to FEMA and say we need money, not only do we have to hit our local threshold, that $100,000, we have to hit the statewide threshold. And it's $1.89 per person statewide, which ends up being over $6 million worth of damages to be able to have FEMA come in and help. And FEMA doesn't necessarily come in and help homeowners. They come in and help the local government get back to what they do. It does open up some funding in different areas. And so what the state of Utah is doing right now is they have set up a disaster relief fund, kind of like FEMA. Right now, I think it has like $10 million in it. Their Division of Emergency Management's trying to write all the rules for it, but there is not ongoing funding for that account right now. And so if we can gather your guys' data and take that to the state and say, hey, this is what's going on, these are the kind of disasters we're seeing, we can then use that to get the legislature to put more money into it. And so that is the purpose of that. It's not because we're going to try and get you guys dollars. Unfortunately, that's not the job of local government or the county to do that. We do want to help you, though. So since I've been hired in 2016, We have disasters like this. We've had them in Wellington. We've had them in Westwood. The one source of funding that we do have, the option is the NRCS, the National Resource Conservation Service. They have a program called EWP, Emergency Watershed Protection. And so that EWP funding is available for us to apply for. I've been in contact, I think his name's Kyle. He's new. It used to be Tony that I dealt with all the time. He's since retired. So I've been in contact with him. They're going to come down and look at the area up in Carbonville and see what some options are to reduce the flooding there to the impacts of you guys. Well, we hope to get funding there to do that. It's not a quick process. They say they want the project done in like 240 days from the time you get the money, but there's so much red tape that generally takes us about 1.5 to 2 years from the time we get the funding. So we're doing that. We're trying to get funding to protect you guys with that funding. The other thing that, so 2016 when we had the flooding, I was standing in a rainstorm looking at all the water come down, and I got a phone call from the National Weather Service. And they said, hey, it looks like there's a really bad storm heading your way. And I said, yeah, thanks, I'm already in it. So what happens is there's 3 radars around us. There's a Doppler radar in Cedar City, there is a Doppler radar in Grand Junction, and there's one in Salt Lake. The problem is they're all angled up into the sky, and so by the time they see Carbon County, we're like the Bermuda Triangle of weather. They only catch the storms if they're really high. So 2016, I saw this problem, and I was trying to partnership with lots of people to put a Doppler up on Broome Point. Lots of things kind of fell through, but there's a new company that's reached out. Their name's Climavision. And it sounds like we've got a pretty good chance of getting a Doppler down on Cedar Mountain. And so that will significantly impact our radar forecasts. Our Dopplers will go up, and we'll have a much better warning when these storms are coming towards us. And so that's the other thing that we're trying to do, is to get better forecasting, better warning times. And so you guys will have the ability to put out to everybody and say, hey, there's a storm coming, prepare, and be 45 to an hour ahead of the game versus, oh, it's 10 minutes when I get the forecast from the Weather Service. So those are some of the things that we're working on at the county level. EWP, getting better forecasting for sure. With the report that I put out, I can tell you, and it was generalized numbers, right? We asked for you guys to report your damages. So in Carbon County, we had a total of 98 people fill out the form. Of those, I think 57 were out in the county. A lot of you probably reported on that, and the estimates were about $600,000 worth of damage to you guys, and we realized that. And the other ones were in Price City. I think it was like 41, and it was about $275,000 from what I calculated. On that back page of the thing I'm passing around, there's a QR code. If you didn't go online and fill out that form, you can scan that QR code. There is a website that you can go to enter that information. Tell us what kind of damages you have, upload some pictures to help us go to the legislator to try and get that funding in the future. Did I miss anything we talked about this morning? I think that was pretty much everything. There's the QR code. Like I said, if we get some time at the end, I'll be happy to answer the questions, but I'll turn it over to Lincoln.
Okay, thanks, Justin. Okay, so I've just been asked to summarize the recent events, and I had some data for the 2024 Carbonville flood, and basically this storm occurred closer to Spring Glen. And so the brunt of the storm wasn't as far east as the most recent storm, but the residents in the area. The damages, most of the damages were related to garages, homes in low-lying drainage areas, downward slope driveways, basements. Some basements were flooded, were reported that the basements were flooded. And so one government building was flooded. It was the DNR building, and they had some office equipment in their building for their motor pool. And one other thing that happened in 2024 is our maintenance crews were out working, and they cleaned out every roadway culvert in the Carbonville area after that storm event occurred. And another important point was that the county, our roadway maintenance is I mean, it's overwhelming. And, you know, we try to keep up with that the best we can, but a lot of our money goes towards our roadway maintenance. And so moving on to the 2 weeks ago, August 27th. So about 1:30 in the morning, a rain event started to occur, and it lasted for about 3 or 4 hours. And then early that morning, the county started to get phone calls about flooding in their basement. And so we started to respond to those. And then the second event, which the brunt of the storm, hit I guess the northern face of Wood Hill, the cliffs, the northern face of the cliffs of Wood Hill, and that started about 12:30, and so it was. I've been looking at different data, and it was really kind of difficult because I was going to the airport rain gauges and I was going to the helper rain gauges, and I couldn't determine because we were getting traces on those rain gauges, but nothing that was consistent with what we were getting in Carbonville. And so, so the calls started to come, and we started to respond, and there were several problems that we started to identify. First, the canal was starting to overtop in several locations. We noticed that the highway motel on Carbonville Road was being flooded, and there was several complaints all over the Carbonville area about garages silting in and people out trying to get the silt out of their garages. And so after this event, Justin had created the online surveys, and we got 93 complaints that originated in Carbonville. So this is the flood that occurred in 2024 at the DNR building. And you can see that the parking lot was flooded, and people did, if you know the people there at DNR, they need access to their vehicles because they're always constantly going places and trying to determine things. And so, and also the motor pool was, as I mentioned before, had offices in there, and they had to tear out carpet and replace office chairs and desks, and so that was a significant amount of damage in that location.
Do you know why that was flooded? Because all that water is trying to run down a 3-foot culvert and over the Carbonville Road and ran down through there like a river. because it's not built right, whoever engineered all that. You guys are all just trying to blow smoke up our asses. That's crap. Y'all engineered a bunch of shit that doesn't work. We never had flooding in our house till 2 years ago when y'all went up to the canal and put in some kind of diversion overflow thing. Then you went down by the Carbonville Road and built some thing that doesn't work. Why don't you go take pictures of the shit that really happened and really affected us all?
Yeah, it's.
So,
What about the diversion bars up on top of Wood Hill that's pushing all that water to the west? Instead of letting it run down where it was naturally designed to go.
Where we live.
You send all that water to us.
On my phone, 3 hours before it happened.
so what we're trying to do now is we're trying to, solve these problems.
Nobody showed up.
And so,
County, we were calling Carbon County, nobody showed up. We didn't get no help whatsoever. Not
Still
even
got
being
damage
down to that.
clear to his place that hasn't been cleaned
I
up.
don't even live
A sweeper myself. I hired Paul Riddle to clean our street because we couldn't get Carbon County out.
Leon come watch our road because they wouldn't do it.
I watched with my water truck and I watched Carbon County joyride in a pickup truck, which I imagine is a supervisor, a street sweeper and a water truck. And like everybody else on Carbonville Road, flying up and down there, rocks flying, all the elderly people breathing the dirt in the air.
They still ain't washed it all.
And they still haven't. It's all that's been done. is what I've done.
They haven't cleaned our
Jay,
road up. I built a dam there, and they told me they were gonna put me
He
in
put
jail.
rocks to stop our houses from going under, and they told him he better not block that road. It's the only way he could save his house. Carbon County never showed up to do anything out there.
Carbon County told me over the phone that they were on the way, and they never showed.
We have two issues here.
Okay.
We have reacted, which we're all reacting to something that's happened. Plus, it's happened to me twice. I put it down. And it's still, I'm disabled. I can't lift that crap that's on my driveway. And then we also have, like, let's fix this problem, not bring money in to fix us, because we're now flooding out. Our houses are now going to change because they're going to be considered a flood zone. Our property values are going to go down. We're not going to be able to appreciate our equity. We need proactive engineering to fix this problem because it's just going to keep.
Across from the DNR, there's a creek that
okay. Well, I think that's some great feedback, and
Well, you
that's.
didn't hear what I have to say.
Oh,
I said right across.
well, sorry, there was like 20 people complaining at one time, so go ahead.
Right across the street from the DNR, there's a 3-foot culvert goes under the railroad.
Yeah.
Go straight across, like he said, over the culvert. 50 yards down the road, the county cleared out a 3-foot ditch on each side of a big tree down there. They could run that ditch over to there and down.
Well, me and
Right.
Barry took a ride up on Woodville yesterday, and there's 10 water bars up there, and they grade those ditches towards us. All 10 water bars have ditches coming to up Woodville. Everything's directed right at us, and it goes right down in that valley by the gas company. But again, Carbon County didn't show one person out there helping them poor people in that motel. They got plastered, and Carbon County, nobody showed up.
Well, and the problem too is that once that happens, once you're flooded, you can report it to the insurance company and they'll take care of it, but then they're gonna drop you. And you will not get
If you got-
So,
Yeah, he got threatened being arrested by an officer.
It took us half an hour to get.
was there an emergency for the?
There
For the-
was an emergency in my house.
What was that?
I had water up past my knees,
Mhm.
running through my driveway. And all I needed was the county to bring a dump truck of gravel to down that off so the road would go down what drainage you do have on Carbonville Road. And they wouldn't do it. They said they were on their way, but they didn't come. So I did it, and they said, do not block that road off, you will be arrested.
Okay.
What I did actually saved your highway department, so I'm right behind the highway department. That water was devastating me, the county gave me no help, the officers told me that they would evacuate me if I created any trouble. They told me I would be arrested if I dammed my road off. I dammed the road off anyway, you can take me right now.
So are you the owner of the motel?
No,
Okay,
I'm right behind.
you're behind.
That
Okay,
water came from Carbonville Road, down 700 North, and right through my property.
okay,
And nobody even swept Rick from the street sweeper. He's on the sweep up.
And get a sweeper, the dust was going in, we didn't even see down our street.
We
I
don't
thought
know.
I hired a street because you guys wouldn't show up.
okay.
This much mud in my driveway, you can't get in and out of my driveway, and where does it go, because there's no place to. And it's heavy, and there's no place to drink.
I hired a street sweeper, and I hired 2 guys to sweep our street, going up and down sweeping it, so we could see the driver down our street. And I called Carbon County and said, can you guys send your street sweepers on some of them? No response.
Okay.
For that too, I've got equipment that I've had to rent. That stuff ain't cheap.
The dog that
This is
Rick
my
hired
second year in a row having to do
was
this.
out there yesterday. He's still out there sweeping up.
Okay,
And we're just trying to clean up. The county has helped us. County help us clean up our street at least so that we can drive down the road.
Clean up ditches.
Patrol.
Carbonville Road is not clean.
No, it's a mess down there. They had
1,300.
yeah, go ahead.
I don't see any preventative maintenance projects in place. And this county's big. It has flood areas all over. I've seen it
Right.
really come down. Canal works, we've had great work and stuff. But I feel everybody's pain here as I drive by and see the cleanup isn't attended to. You know, there's weeds on the side of the roads. There's a lot of issues. It's maintenance, preventative maintenance, which compounds into a high cost. People are, I can tell people are pissed off their damage. And I
Right.
don't hear, and that's where the problem is, what is going to be in place preventative for the county? We buy all the equipment and materials and everything else, but if we don't prevent the stuff from happening, everybody's gonna be in loss.
It's gonna rain and it's gonna happen.
Yeah, the rainstorms are getting better.
Who was the one that engineered these trenches that are trying to divert it from Price down into Carbonville? Who was the bright idea behind this one? I would really like to
So-
know this, because that's
not the biggest problem. The problem is dumping waste.
We've got some answers on that. It's not
I
quite
mean,
what
because
you.
I talked to the lady from the Canal Company, because I was pissed. It's the second time it's happened in my house. My garage is trash, my patio's trash, you know?
It should be.
Look,
So,
Not even on the foundation.
yeah, my foundation from last year, you know, so much water on there, and then they get this year, it is starting to grow. She said it wasn't the canal, she said they stopped the canal for you guys, they opened up the floodgates. But what she told me is you guys did some diversion deal and it's dumping, she said what they estimated, it would take 10 canals to handle the water you're sending into Carbonville, into our neighborhoods. There's no way that canal can handle that, so it did overflow. Because I told her, I said, I called Carbon County, they said the canal is flowing over the banks, it's your fault. It's just bull, it's not our fault. She says, we stopped the canal, we stopped it. They said they did last year too, because last year I got told the same thing, the canal they didn't divert it back to the river. You know, if it were to the river, would have been great, because I know it can flood down there, I don't care about down there, it always jumps the banks, but I'm tired of it coming to my house, I mean, and I keep getting told by the county, this is an act of God, not our problem.
okay. Okay, so if, I'm going to continue with
Just a
the
minute.
presentation.
Invited you here to help you understand what we can do. We're trying
Well, I
to
want
get
to know
there.
what can be done to prevent this from happening again, I don't want to have to deal with this again next year.
Clean up all the silt out of your basements.
Those blade marks on those water bars, those blade marks are fresh. Somebody's up there, they got time to go up there and everything keeping from the east side of that and it's shifted it to the west side. But those blade marks are fresh up there. There's 10, we counted 10 water marks. And there's a blade that's went up there and it's all fresh marks. So somebody's got the time to go up there and clear that so that water runs to our side.
Well, we
Okay.
understand that you need a budget because the big thing cost, we don't have coming out of our budget right now. So I understand the need to try to get funding, not only to take care of what's already happened, funding to secure our future. Yeah, so far
Okay.
we haven't seen how that is happening because there is no flood damage funding right now. There is no plan to re-engineer the areas that are constantly being flooded.
So
Because right now,
I think I just need a little bit more time to explain the problem because it's kind of a complex problem. Because when we develop, farmland, new subdivisions, so we're moving the dirt around, but we don't really understand how we're affecting the main drainage pattern coming through there. And so the drainage basin that was calculated, it was north and west of Wood Hill. It was approximately 480 acres. And that when that storm hits it square on, that drainage comes down that drainage basin and it goes where it naturally goes. And so
studies that are done, and also engineering for every subdivision and everything else. And then don't you have proactive future outlook and projection in engineering for what possibly is needed in certain areas?
So we don't typically do a environmental permit for a development. We have permits for.
Study done as for water collection.
Yes. So the drainage, Carbon County drainage ordinance was put together back in 2008. And basically that ordinance connects us with FEMA. And so there's a lot of regulations that are in that ordinance that if you build in the floodplain, you need to meet certain criteria to get flood insurance, the NFIP. So, but if you look at the maps, Carbonville, there was probably maybe 10% of the people who lived in Carbonville were in that floodplain. And so they're not even in required to meet FEMA just minimum standards for flooding.
When I witnessed in my life, seeing different parts of the world, the storms are coming in and they're 20% more aggressive.
Right.
Seeing it all over the country.
Yes, I agree with
I
that.
realize things are separate, but
Right.
in that ordinance, there's no projection.
Right. So when we adopted this drainage ordinance back in 2008, we put in these criteria for new development. It's for the 25-year, 1-hour storm event. So, we have county inspectors that go out and make sure that those developers, engineers are designing these developments to these 25-year storm events. But the problem becomes is, well, what about the 100-year event? What about maybe a 500-year event that we're now experiencing because of these storms are becoming more intense? The county just doesn't have enough resources to,
Yeah, that's bad, but.
well,
When they done that subdivision across the street from my house, they took that 15 acres of alfalfa out. When they made him put that pond in, all they made him calculate was what water would fall on that property that was hard-faced during the water. But what they didn't take into consideration, and the biggest problem is that 15 acres of alfalfa slowed down a whole lot of water and made it stay and settle instead of letting it come into us. Now, when that water hits
Right.
that hard face,
So-
it just keeps going.
so if we made a new development today, mitigate for the 100-year storm event, the size of their detention basin would be the same size as the new development. They just could not develop new homes. So We can't just say, you know, none of the developers in the county would be interested in putting up a new development because they could.
How come I have to suffer so some developer can profit?
So
'Cause that's all it is.
I don't think that's the question. I think the question is it's really simple for you to mitigate your home or your property. So as far as sandbags go, you can put sandbags around your home. And so, and yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I am disabled. I have a car. Who's gonna put those sandbags in that truck? Who's gonna bring that truck to the very back of my car? You can't even get back there now because the plates are not dry. To sandbag my area. Who's gonna do that for me to mitigate my property? When I would go get
So,
sandbags for a roof, I wouldn't even give you a second.
where was that? So on the day of the rainstorm, I got probably 6 calls, and one of the calls was, you know, I've got flooding going under my home. So I went up with the county vehicle and got 50 bags and drove it down to that. It was right. So, but everybody that I mean, nobody checked me for my identity. Okay. Right.
Nobody can get a sandbag out there unless they've been damaged to dust.
Right. So getting back to the scale of the problem, it's a very complex problem, and it's going to take a lot of money and resources to do that. And yes. I'm not sure. Is Miles? Miles, do you want to answer that?
I have a 38-year career in moving dirt. My whole life, I've been leveling dirt, I've been building roads on slopes and everything else. So, okay. Turn the lights down, Barry. Okay, scroll up to the top. So we want to look at Wood Hill. Can we see the up on Wood Hill? On top of Wood Hill, there's been a road that runs from Price to Kenilworth. That road kind of splits Wood Hill, not in half, but it splits it. Everything on the east side of that road has a slope towards the west and slightly towards the south. And, pardon?
Right on top of us.
Yeah, so the natural slope of any water coming off of that area on the east side of that road comes across and it hits the road. Now, we've been told, I think, that in the 80s, and we have no way of verifying it, in the 80s, there was ditches dug across there in an attempt to try to hold the water back that ended up in the road and running straight south, and it dropped into the coves. So any road you build on BLM or forest ground, they have standards on how often you have to divert that water off the edge of the road. Because if you don't, we would have water from clear up close to Kenilworth running all the way down the road, and that would become like a canal. So those drainage ditches you're referring to, they literally they were put in to help put the water where it's supposed to go. It can't just go down the edge of the road because it washes the road out. And if you go up there, you can see how low the road is currently compared to the stuff on the sides of it. Well, and yeah. But okay, now hold on. We're not going to get anywhere if we just have you talk all night. I'm trying to answer a question. All right.
It took 5 years to go shovel out just the storm drains right there in the trust. And meanwhile, you cannot cross, it gets deep enough to get across. And I'm saying we need something to plan for the future, or the license budget. It's a lot of work. It's a good idea.
There was a lot of work done at that spot below the highway going to Helper, the old road right there in Spring Glen. So the county went in and did a lot of work there. There's been projects throughout the county where there's been mitigation. No. Because the rain event was a bigger event than what we've seen. Okay, both times though, these storm events are larger than anything that's been designed. We can't speak for the canal company. They're here, but I'm telling you that the thought that the water's been diverted out of the coves is not an accurate assessment.
The water bars that are on Wood Hill, if we're not there to burn that water out to behind the gas plant over to Carbonville, would come down and come into the top of the coves and run down to the catchment pond that has a breach in it.
But there's more water going that if the ditches are not in there, then literally the road is diverting the water that should be going the other way.
No, that would be me. Okay, who has the responsibility of maintaining the canal? Me.
Come up and
So if you're not a PSI unit in there or some kind of leveling to know that that canal needs restructuring so that it can handle that capacity, so that you can open the gates when flood storms come, so that people are not impacted. That canal for the last 2 years has been an issue in my area.
If you will all just wait for Mr. Irvine to finish his presentation, Dave Horsley is going to give a presentation, and I think it will answer so many of your questions. So just hold on and watch it, and then I'll be happy to answer questions. I really will.
So the answer is yes, we're going to take care of this, and yes, we're going to make sure it's not going to happen in the future.
Well,
That's what I want to hear.
well, I'm telling you, if anybody doesn't want you to flood, it's me. But if you will give Mr. Irvine time to finish his presentation and then see the one that Dave Horsley has made, so many of your questions will be answered, and then I will answer any questions that you have. Oh, I know that. I know. I feel sad for all of you folks. I cannot even imagine how I would feel if my house got flooded. I am heartbroken for you. It's horrible. But we have to work together as a team to get through this. We are not going to work through this if we're fighting each other. We have to come together. We have to find resources. We have to find funding, and we have to ensure this doesn't happen. We have to work together. and that's what we're trying to do. Now, so let's just let them finish their presentations, and then I'll be happy after to answer any questions, okay?
Okay, so this is in the northwest corner of the gas plant, and this is where the drainage concentrated, and I call it, it just turned around, it turned and it headed straight for the canal. And when it went into the canal was, I wouldn't say it was running full, but it was running, and that water, we think it was about 400 or so CFS, went down the field right south of it. And so you can see the corner it turned, and these arrows represent where the majority of the water came down, and then it went down 1100 north, and then it turned down this way, and then it
didn't go to the road, it came down, went to worse.
and then from my observations, it went down Carbonville Road. It washed out the track at UP right here, and so right here, it came down the UP right away, and it crossed over and went into Carbonville Road, and then it flooded these residents here. So, you know, one of the suggestions that we have is that we try to find some resources to do some mitigation here to help retain some of this water. And so the county did a project in 2019, and they were about a quarter of a mile long, and they were rock berms, and there were 3 of them. And so they cascaded, and they slowed the flow down significantly. So that's one of the ideas, is to help improve any future flooding in this location. And so if you go back to this slide here, this is the event, and you can see this detention basin here completely full. And there's ditches on both sides of the road, and these ditches, they're designed for the 25-year event. So this flow is coming down this road, and then it starts heading south with these ditches. And so that's another thing is, you know, what can we do to try to keep these ditches open and ready to take this flow.
Sorry for the interruption. That's a reactive process right here. This is, where does the water go once it's already flooded us?
It goes down that road, and it doesn't matter if there's a ditch or not, it's going down that road. So the magnitude of this flow, I mean, it went where the low point was. So, right. So you can see the area right here where it flooded, had a significant flood, and the canal right here, it just couldn't hold the capacity of so it overtopped too.
Those fields that you're showing right there.
Yeah.
I farmed that field.
Yeah, that's.
And there hasn't been any change in the canal or in the area above it. I don't know where the rock thing you're talking about, but that green area right there. I farm that, and
This area?
yeah, the canal has been topped every time. Once it goes over the canal. And the canal, I didn't think was designed as flood control. That's not the purpose of the canal, it's flood control.
Right,
So we need to do something above that canal to divert that water, collect it into a holding basin, or something.
Right.
But like I say, nobody's done anything in that green area.
Right. So
Right now,
that's one area where it would improve the situation significantly if we did some improvements here.
You're only
take
going
all
east of
the
that area.
irrigated pipe along the canal all the way across that angle area.
Right. And I have pictures of that where those pipes were heaved out of their trenches. Yeah.
But sir, the.
Right
So-
there up there where
Development also-
750 turns into 1300.
Yes.
That canal ran over right there also.
Right, I have pictures of 1,300.
In Dave's presentation, he'll show everything. We're just not
Okay.
there yet.
Okay. So we've already covered the motel on Carbonville Road. And this is a slide about warehouse wash. And this was on the north side of the storm event. And we didn't see or have a record of the spillway. Actually, the spillway was constructed on the canal. And so we didn't have any way to verify that the spillway was actually active during this storm. And so, but anyways, below this spillway on 1200 West, it's more commonly known as the warehouse wash. There were locations reported along the canal that overtopped above 1100 North and 750 West. So here's some pictures of the warehouse wash, which overtopped into the canal on just above the 1200 West spillway. And the canal, it overtopped on Wednesday afternoon. Residents flooded below the canal on 1200 West. The ditch master reported that he had the head gate open and it was manually opened. The high water marks never indicated the water went over the spillway. The county not able to confirm the spillway is active. The culvert was assumed to be undersized. The dump gate was opened too late as the canal takes hours to drop its water surface elevation. So that would have helped in the flood event. As Justin indicated, we need a better warning system to help us get ahead of the storm events. So this is that location on 1200 West for warehouse wash. And you can see the culvert here has been scoured. And so nothing plugged it during the event, which was a good sign. It was flowing and draining down to the Price River. And so downstream of 1200 West, this is the location where the canal overtopped. And you can see down here, there was this home that was being flooded there. And so we have that location.
Part on the canal is 3 or 4 feet lower than anywhere else. Then the tractor went up there and dug out a little bit of sand and put on top, but that doesn't solve the problem at all. Definitely 100%
Right.
will happen again.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
next rainstorm, not in 20, 25 years, next rain.
No, yeah.
Right. And that,
Next rainstorm.
yep. And that's another problem that we're trying to address. And so you can see on this map the two locations where we have reports of the canal overtopping, one by the gas plant and one probably a quarter mile or so up the canal.
Straight up 820 west.
So anyways, I'm going to turn some time over to Dave about the hydrology of the storm. And so as you can see, it's a pretty complex problem that we're trying to find answers to. And we need help from both the canal and the canal company to try to figure out what we can do to stop future flooding. And so, Dave, do you want to? I'm sorry. Why aren't they used for flooding control? The ditches.
Because it just happens by default.
Well, you know what, something else needs to be done. The county needs to put in a flood control system
It
that
just happens by default because the water runs into the canal bed.
will build some before this now.
Dave has a good presentation. Right, yes, that was me. Are you Manzanares? Oh, okay.
Okay, you guys, my name is David Horsley. I feel like I've put myself up here with a target on myself right now. Believe it or not, I volunteered for this. No, I am here on my own free will, and I appreciate the county for the opportunity to do this. I want to be respectful to your guys' time. I was expecting to go first, and so there's some things in here that are going to be repeated. If you guys leave, I won't be offended. But just for your information, I am employed for the state of Utah. It's the Division of Water Rights, the Office of the State Engineer. However, I'm here on my own, right? I'm here to help you guys out, and to be honest, help myself out. So any data that I present here, it's my own information, and so it's not meant to be, used for any type of designs or any engineering, legal advice, those kind of things. So we all know what the problem is here. This video was taken on 1100 North. Lincoln has already kind of showed different pictures of this, but we can see that we got an issue here. Why am I here? Because this is my property. I got affected also. This is the third time that I've been affected. We had August 28th in 2013, June 21st, 2024, and then this last flood. So I'm here, I get your pain, I feel it. This is my family's property. Both these videos were taken after the storm came, so you can imagine what they look like when the storm was taking place. Because you can obviously that the rain has stopped here. My intention here is not to assign any blame, debate, or anything like that. So my purpose is just to try and state the facts that I saw that were taking place during the flood. a couple of definitions that I'd like to get out of the way first. Sometimes I'll use these terms, GPM, gallon per minute. If you just take a picture in your mind of you're taking 1 gallon of milk and it's going down every minute. Oftentimes you can kind of compare that to your bathroom sink. That's about a gallon a minute. A CFS, a cubic foot per second. So we're taking 1 cubic foot, so a cube, and that is going by every second, right? So you can kind of get that in your mind. And actually, if you multiply that by 448, if you take your gallons per minute, multiply by 448, that's a CFS. An acre, keep in mind that it's about the size of a football field. And then an acre foot is taking that amount of water on an acre and building it 1 foot deep. A little bit of engineering behind it. Talk about rainstorm intensity. There's some formulas out there that you can go by. Basically, there's a coefficient out there that engineers use, and it takes into account all the surface type, the soil type, slopes, those kind of things. And then the intensity of the storm, which is in inches per hour, and how much area there is. I've heard various reports of how much water there was. Somebody told me that they'd heard that there was 2 inches in 45 minutes on that day. So a lot of water. So when you start spreading it out across 1 acre, we're talking about a large amount of water, as everybody knows. So again, just doing the math, you can see there's different runoff coefficients for this. We can figure out all the different areas of residential, agricultural. Somebody mentioned the ag slows the water down. Absolutely. You can see that down towards the bottom, we have a lower coefficient as the ones up higher where we're talking about residentials and businesses. So another thing to keep in mind, we've all seen the Price Wellington Canal. It typically operates around 40 to 60 CFS. Okay. The Price River, when you go up Price Canyon, that ranges around 100 to 200 CFS. So just kind of help get some pictures in your mind. What I'd like to do is look at the area that affected us, right? So we can see Carbonville, Coves, Castle Heights, and I understand all of you are from the Carbonville area, but I want to touch on the Coves area and the Castle Heights area just a little bit too. So in order to do this, we're going to break it down into each drainage basin. I call them basins because it's just one area that if you put a drop of water, say at the top of this location here, you can see my mouse, right? That means eventually that water is going to end up down to the bottom. And same here. If you put one in this green area, eventually it's going to come down and it's going to come up at the bottom here. For sake of conversation, I've named some of these. Some of them didn't have any names. And so the Pitts Wash, kind of on the north side of the Carbonville Road, Warehouse Wash. I call it the Howard Wash because I didn't know what else to call it. And also the D'Ambrosio Wash. The D'Ambrosios own a lot of the property in that wash. And then also Woodhill and Coves and Meads. So. The Pitts Wash, there's actually 760 acres about that is the surface area for this wash. And so, again, when we're talking about putting 2 inches of rain over that, by the time we get down to the bottom, we got a lot of water. And so, that calculation before we used 100 acres, that was 100 CFS, and we're talking about 760 acres here. So you can imagine by the time it gets down to the bottom, how much flow we're talking about. The good thing about the Pitts Wash is there is 45 acres of irrigation just to slow that water down. The concern for that wash is there's 760 acres and it all drains to one point. And that point is down here just as the canal crosses the railroad tracks. It all comes into that one point. So the water's got to go somewhere, right? As I went out and kind of looked at this pit swash, you could see that the vegetation had been laid down and there was debris on the bank. So not really a way of knowing how much water went down, but we know there's quite a lot just from the way it looks, right? Warehouse wash. This is the wash that drains. The ballpark subdivision is up in here, kind of help you get your bearings. There is 1,800 acres here. Again, a lot of water. The pros to this is there is 100 acres of irrigation to help slow that water down. The canal company does have an overflow dump. Lincoln talked about that a little bit. It has some manual and automatic capabilities. So when things start happening, it automatically has the ability to start dumping water if the water in the canal gets too high. The downside of this is there is two, I call them man-made points of drainage. And that drainage down here in the middle is a culvert that drains all those roads up in that area. And again, it dumps into that one spot. In this drainage, there's also that 48-inch undershot that Lincoln was talking about. We'll skip a lot of that. And here's a photo of that dump. So you can see, and if you look real close, you can see the high water mark on this overflow. So that did get used in that last storm. And this is the upstream side of that wash. And you'll see here in just a second, the amount of water that came over. This is a 48-inch culvert down here. And this is that culvert that drains all those roads in that subdivision. Here is a video that somebody provided me with the warehouse wash. So on that right side, that was looking up the wash. So all that water is coming down warehouse wash. It's getting backed up by the culvert, coming over into the canal and causing excess flow in the canal. So, yes, yeah, that metal structure that with a motor on it, that's the dump gate, that's correct. Yeah, so, and there's another video here. Okay, looking down, here's the downstream side of that wash. So it's gone underneath the canal here. And so that water right there is including what water was in the wash and what water is overflowing from the canal and from that dump gate. So there's a lot of water there. This is further down in that wash. That road behind here, that's that 1200 West. You can see how fast that water's going. I mean, it's cooking. And keep in mind that water's got to go somewhere, right?
That's about 6 feet deep.
And that is a deep ditch, yes. And so I'm not even going to guess how much water there's. More than a couple hundred CFS is what I'm going to say in that ditch right there. Howard Wash. The only reason I call it this is because I know the Howards, they live towards the mouth of this wash. There is 365 acres of irrigation here. There is 10 acres to help slow the water down. The concerns here is the bridge that crosses the canal here. It ended up being a choke point. It got debris caught on it. Just the capacity of the bridge, it was just overwhelming. The other downside is further around the corner there, there's the hill's really unstable. It's got a lot of clay. And so there was actually a slough off there and caused the canal to dam off partially. So you can imagine if we start damming off the hill downstream, we're choking off the bridge. All this water has got to go somewhere. It came through the canal, over the canal, and down. This is a video that somebody provided for me of that canal. And again, this is after the rainstorm. So you can imagine what it was doing during the rainstorm and the amount of water that came down. D'Ambrosio Wash, Lincoln talked a little bit about this. This is the gas company down here in this bottom part. There is 560 acres here, which really surprised me. I actually live below this. This is the one that got me. There are 3 large ditches that has been created to help protect the gas company from debris and water. Again, we have another choke point here on 1100 North. The bridge just wasn't able to handle all of the water that went through there due to debris. And it got backed up, which caused the canal. All the water from here went into the canal, didn't have any place for it to go, and then went over. Yes, sir. I hear you. 2020, hindsight's 2020, right? I mean, I wish I would have too. I really do, because it would have saved me a lot of headache. I'm hoping, yeah, we can do something about it. No, for sure. Respectfully so, Commissioner, these I call them trans-basin diversions. I've gone up, I looked at these ditches that come across. There is some sloping that takes place from the east side to the south side. But again, respectfully so, if you look at these, the drainages come straight across the road. And so to me, if I were to drain the road, that drainage would just take place on one side of the road. We wouldn't have water coming in on the upside of the road, passing through the road, and then going over to there. So that's a downside of this drainage too, that we're getting extra water coming into this drainage. No, I think those have been there for a while.
Before this administration.
Yeah.
Before your time, these things went down.
And how do I know that? Yeah. Yeah. Regardless, they're there and they're taking water. So we can call them whatever we want. But I will say they are a conveyance structure. There is water that has the potential to go down there. I don't know. I don't know why they're there. I can just tell you what it looks like. Yeah. So I actually took this video. This is, you can see the Questar, or the gas plant, whatever they're called this week. You can see the canal there. It is overflowing, and it's not just in one spot. It's all the way along there. Looks like my backyard, my front yard, my field, my. So again, the concerns here, we've got those ditches, the bridge choking, the low canal embankment from the overflow, and the transbasin. Again, I'll just quickly go through this. This is the water tank road. The only reason why I bring this up right now is the good thing is there is those water conveyance structures that, whatever they are, they help drain water out of this basin, so it helps minimize the efforts. And currently, my understanding is Price City's working on a drainage basin, or a drainage system there to. There is, yeah, right, yeah, I remember that as a kid too. So I don't know the history why they gave that up, but yeah, it's. And development also is an issue there. Cove Basin, we all know about the Cove Basin. It does have the pond there. I've seen it myself overtop several times, which You know, maybe this could be bigger, maybe it could be a little bit different. I'm not here to say, but the Meads Wash, that's 31 acres, which blew me away. I had no idea this was such a big drainage basin. There's been little development here, and again, there's little to slow the water down in this. And the downside of this is there is that I call it trans basin ditch that comes out of the Cove Basin and down 800 North and dumps into the Meads Wash, which adds water to that. Oh, here's a video of 800 North that somebody sent me, so we got some water there. And here's further down on the Meads Wash, so you can see the Carbon High baseball fields there. Again, that wash is huge. So you can imagine the amount of water that's, I'm gonna guess, a couple hundred CFS. So looking at the canal as a whole, the canal's really dealing with 1,700 acres above it that has the ability to drain towards the canal. You can see the Price Wellington Canal is at, whoa, excuse me. Whoop. There we go. Some pros of the canal, we've already talked about those dump gates. You know, Carbon County has helped with that warehouse wash dump, and Price City has helped with they call it the Jensen dump. It's over by Butch Jensen's place, drops down. That's one of the things that contributed to that DNR building that Lincoln was talking about. You know, downsides, we could talk all day about this. The big thing is there is 4 drainage basins that come into the canal. And so you can imagine if you have a storm that comes in, because there's so many different lengths and slopes and everything that way, when it starts flashing, those times vary. One might come quicker than the other. The storms might be in different locations, so we might get a storm in one basin and not even touch the others. Like we've heard, Spring Glen didn't get any water. It sounds like the airport didn't get any water too. There was plenty of water in my house, I know that.
Is there enough room up above the canal by the gas company to put in a settling basin up there to counteract this flow?
I'm headed that direction too, so yeah. Again, I can't emphasize the how fast the water comes down. We've all saw it. There's just nothing up above the canal to slow that water down. And so when it comes fast. Just an overall look at the canal, referring to those point drainages, the hill sloughing, the bridge chokes, those kind of things.
So with those pointed,
There's not. So the first dump gate that takes place that I'm aware of on the canal is at this warehouse wash. So we're talking a couple miles. Thank you. At Fidel's there is, yeah. Yeah. So that does allow and correct me if I'm wrong.
where's Fidel's?
Fidel's,
So just to the left of that first one that said point drainage?
yes, yeah.
Just so everyone.
Yeah, and JS can dump our entire canal pronto, and that's what he did.
Yeah, so thank you for that clarification. I apologize. Again, it's not my canal, so I'm just trying to represent.
Then there's the one at 1200 West, and then there's Jensen, and then there's a dump gate at Meads, and then there's a siphon right behind my ponds on the airport. Then you have Hayes Water.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. There, yeah, I didn't go further down, but yeah, there are, that I'm aware of, 5, 6 different locations that they can dump the canal just as quick as possible. This is, again, one of those areas that Lincoln talked about. It's the hill slough just downside of this. All this being said, if we take a rainstorm and we put it along this area, When we start doing the math, we have the potential of getting 200 CFS in each one of these drainages. By the time we get it down to the river or wherever, you know, we have the potential of having 800 CFS or 800 CFS in the canal. So potentially we have a lot of water. Again, if we run 800 CFS for 12 hours, it has a potential to put 800 acre feet of water out there. So again, if you think about taking 800 football fields, putting that water 1 foot deep, that's how much water we had that came through.
Well, and then you got the irrigation water on top of what you've done.
Yeah, and I'm headed that direction too. So thank you. Again, probably a little exaggerated, but it could happen. I mean, and it may have happened. I don't know. I didn't run any calcs on to see how much water was actually happening. So my understanding, again, this is my interpretation of what took place on that day. And this is for your information, that on an average day, the canal has about 40 to 60 CFS in. So we've all seen that. On August 27th, the canal had requested 20 CFS to be delivered. It just so happened that morning there was 28 CFS in the canal, so a little bit more than what they called for, which often takes place, just the nature of the river, how it runs. I mean, we can't regulate that to the T. So my understanding, about 11:45, canal representatives were able to turn off the head gate at the golf course, was able to shut that off. And then around 12 o'clock, they were able to open that warehouse wash dump and then confirm that the Jensen's dump gate had been opened. And so I say all this, and the canal, we need to keep in mind that the canal is not designed for floodwaters. By default, it has ended up that way, but it wasn't designed that way. And the canal's not required to remove their irrigation water. The canal's designed for their uses and for them to deliver their water. And so, as we all know, it starts to become a little sticky situation when extra water gets put into the canal. Below the canal, again, this is about where I would call the major parts of the flood took place. So we have the railroad there. In this area, there's, from what I know, 2 road culverts and 2 railroad culverts. These 2 railroad culverts, they drain almost 2,000 acres. So we put 2 inches of water across 2,000 acres. We start ending up with a lot of water. And that railroad creates a dam. Again, just putting things into perspective, if we have 100 CFS coming down at each one of these locations where we've had problems on the canal, by the time we hit down at the bottom, we have the potential of 400 CFS that's coming down and backing up. And I know this because, again, this is my property, and it was clear full of water. It looked like a lake taking place. This is Gardler Road. Somebody try this with me, and you look at the amount of water that's going down that area. Very, very easily could be 400 CFS in my opinion. So just a lot of water that came down those washes, passed through the canals, and right into there. You know, I'm gonna kind of skip over this. I was just trying to show that how long it takes for the water to drain out the canal. It's not an on-off switch is what I was trying to help people understand. It takes a while for that water to drain out of the canals. And then, but you know, doing that math back there, we're not taking into account the inflows from the rain as that continues to take place, and the inflows from the surface water. As the canal drains, it slows down, so it doesn't drain as fast. We got the bank storage draining out. Just multitude of issues. And then I always like to keep this in mind that once all that water gets down there, it's got to go somewhere, got to go down the Price River. And we probably all know people who own property down there that got flooded too. So, just some property or other photos, property damage that I had. This bottom right-hand corner, this is the one that amazes me. This is actually my neighbor's property. All the water from my area got stopped because of these agricultural fields. Got stopped, and then this road conveniently was a conveyance system for all the water, and there's washouts a foot deep in this, which was a good gravel road. So the amount of power. Thoughts, as was mentioned, you know, we have the ability, there's shouldn't say technology. Detention basins is often a term that's used. And so what those are they temporarily store the water, meaning they come into a pond, it collects for a while, and then as he slowly drains out. This is the Price City Cove Basin would be an example of this, that allows it to slowly drain out unless it gets too full. Retention basins, those are ones that they stop the water, so all the water goes in, it sits there and either evaporates out or soaks in. First thing that came to mind was the Walmart parking lot down in the corner. That's a retention basin. Berm series, like was mentioned before, the Carbon Canal had some issues a couple years ago, and they went in and created this series of berms that's able to stop to slow the flow. And so what happens there is once the first one fills up, it starts spilling the second one, and Lincoln mentioned that it cascades down. So it's able to slow that down. So that's another option that could be done above the canal to help slow the flows here. I hear this a lot, make the canal bigger. Easily said, but very hard to do. It's very hard to dig the canal deeper. Why? Because if we look here, we have our canal gates, they're there. If we start digging deeper, well, that's going to cause our water to go deeper. Canals aren't going to be able to get the water out. Same thing if we go wider. We have rights of ways, those kind of things that the canals have to deal with. And so it's hard to go wider because it also drops the elevation of the water, and the canal head gates aren't able to get out. So easily said, but very hard to do to widen a canal. And so, one option out there is to try and do this two-step idea. So once the canal gets so full, we start having a larger ability a larger conveyance system. And again, National Weather Service was already talked about this. This was interesting. I found this on the website, August 27th. This was the forecast for the day. They were forecasting a 1/4 inch of rain over this area. When we look at the storm totals, we can see that in Castle Valley area, we didn't get any rain. And again, it was because Justin was talking about is the issues with the radar. I also had these questions a couple years ago. I emailed Randy Julander, who is works for the National Weather Service, and long story short, said the only solution is to have a radar site near the basin. And he recommended on the Broome Point area, so we can get like Duchesne and the Castle Valley. So maybe that's something that we could keep in mind to look for funding, and then the reverse 911 system. So essentially that's what I have. My goal was to hopefully help everybody understand what happened and what it looked like above the canal, below the canal. I mean, we all know we've got a problem, and my hope is we don't look to the back in the past. We all have our own issues, and hopefully we can invite people to come to the table. These are just ideas that I had of people that I feel like we could get to come to the table, have some type of meeting to. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, going the wrong way. That one. Oh. Yeah, I mean, this was just one of the things I was thinking of myself too. In order to protect myself, I try and do those things, and it costs money. And trust me, I know it costs money, but keeping our ditches clean around our areas, perhaps raising our roads and our driveways costs money. Raise grass, cost money, all that, retaining walls, and even change the drainage the way it comes into our property, but that's always not so friendly. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, I could go in and build my road up. Yeah, and it's all gonna stay on my neighbor's property, and I'm not so sure he's gonna appreciate that. Yeah, we are at a hard crossroads here, and I don't want it to happen again because I've already spent enough money. So hopefully we can all come together is what I'm trying to say and help you understand so we can all make educated decisions. So.
Do you know if there's any kind of grant money out there?
I don't, I'm sorry. I'm not educated on that side of things.
Well, I have to say thank you, because this does show more of what we, where's the water capacity? How do we look at this as something? Thank you very much.
I hope so. Thank you. That means a lot. Appreciate that. So.
I don't know any grant money, but I have a friend, his name is Mark Wiltshire. He's worked with the Salinity Forum for, man, that's a big mouth too. I can't believe that. So, but I have this friend, his name is Mark Quilter. He's been with Salinity here in Utah for at least 18 years anyway. And he just got promoted to vice president over soils, but he's still very connected with Salinity. And I have been in contact with him, and I asked him if there would be any salinity funding. Now, salinity, you have to have someone do a study, and you have to show that you're taking salt savings out of canals, off of property, out of the river in order for them to give you money. So someone like Dave, who's really smart at math, would have to see what the salt savings was. And there would be money to do these types of things, but you would have to prove that there was a salt savings and you're keeping salt out of the Colorado River, because the price, we are the largest drainage that goes into the green, that goes into the Colorado. So if you can prove some salt savings, there is monies available. He is going to take that to his prior department, and he's going to get back with me. He's a friend, so he will get back to me. And then, the NRCS has funding, and Mike Corianis is not, well, do you know about that? Oh, Mike, where are you? Oh, I'm sorry. Mike might be able to tell you, or Miles, about the NRCS. They've been working with NRCS for funding. They've been actively doing it for quite some time. And there was one more thing. If any of this property, and I don't know enough about it, if any of it is BLM, Mark Quilter was telling me that there's this, and I don't think you have to have cattle on there. It's called a grazing management program, that they'll build ponds and do different things, but it has to be on BLM ground. And they give $2 million every year, but it's split between 4 states. It was Wyoming, Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado. So those are 2 possible things that I'm working on to see if we can get something. But Mike might be able to tell you more, or Miles on the NRCS. They know more about that.
Maybe do some underground containment systems, like he was talking about reserve, to hold this water and then reuse it as our water threats or to any kind of drought situation where we can still access that water that's being retained for more areas that need it.
And I failed to mention, I also reached out to Tommy Dehart of Trout Unlimited. He lives here locally, and he has tons of things that go across his desk. Currently, there's not anything available for this, but it doesn't mean that there's not going to be, and he has his eyes peeled for us. And then I have a woman that I want to reach out with I met her last year at the CRUA convention, which is a big water convention down in Las Vegas, and she was over the American rivers. And I was going to see if maybe she could, give us something, some monies to help, because all of this, everything that Dave showed you, it comes down to me. It floods my farm so horrible, it annihilates me. I want to, and it has been doing it since I was a little teeny tiny kid. And some years are worse than others, but it wipes out 70 acres of riparian area that I save for my cattle to graze on in the fall. So that means I have to buy hay from JS's grandpa every year. Wiped out fences, you name it. I have tens of thousands of dollars every year, year after year after year on my farm. So no one wants to resolve this more than I do and find a solution and a problem. But we all have to work together to make this happen. Yes. I don't know anything about writing grants or anything. Maybe Mike could speak to that. I don't know. JS says not yet, but through the process.
So we've been working with Price City. So last year, when we got flooded, we were firsthand watching 800 North, where we had a resident that was floating on her mattress with her little dog, and her apartment was flooded. One of our workers rescued her, our fire department, and I was right there with them. That's when we started identifying these areas that are being impacted in Price City, and NRCS has been a big advocate. But here's what's interesting and upsetting to me. We identified these areas last year. So we have the Wood Hill project that comes off, hits the coves and goes into Olson Reservoir or pond there. And then we had the Meads area where you have all that water that Dave identified going down, and it impacted our baseball field. It impacted several areas, and both of these projects we received the funding to resolve the issue. This year with this big beautiful bill, we all want to say, yeah, great job, but the other part of it is the one project on Wood Hill is still going forward, but Meads Wash got cut out. Because here's what they said to us. There was no life or property damage from that event on Meads Wash. And we had the documentation. So then this event happened again, and I was talking with Salt Lake on NRCS. Justin was talking with the locals, and we're identifying these areas that were impacted in Price City. And Justin, correct me, and Miles, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that the NRCS is more than willing to help. And here's the other part of it is I reached out to Congressman Kennedy. He's our representative that took Senator Curtis's spot. We sat down, Justin and I sat down with him, and he wants this documentation. That's why I said, get the information to Justin Needles so that he can get this picture, and the congressman wants to get in front of this, and he wants to help us. I think this is one thing. We want to get Meads Wash back on the table. We want to get these other areas, and we can't fix it. And I like what's being said. We need to be proactive, not reactive. And it's going to take some money on both parts of, the city's putting up money for culverts, and the NRCS doesn't put money for culverts, and the county and the city are working together on, the dirt, the gravel, those kind of things. That's the partnership. We have to put some teeth in the game also to let the NRCS saying we're trying to resolve this issue. So with these, identifying, and I think that these are valid issues that you're bringing up, because we have a lot of smart people in this room that can come up with solutions and resolve this. Because I think that, we see the
flooding, how many years ago we were getting impacted in Wellington, and you don't hear it as much. I didn't hear it as much, or is Wellington did.
No, what we did with the EWP money there is almost fixed the problem. We have very few issues through the areas where we've done those EWP projects in that area.
You know, and Jaylene said, and I didn't know this from, you know, just working with the NRCS, that our drainage is huge. I never realized that. And I think that once we realize the drainage, and can we put more retention ponds? Can we put more, you know, dump gates that are going to resolve this? Because, you know, you put, you know, the heat of the season, when you got the canals full of water with irrigation water, and then you put a storm event, I mean, it just impacts. And what you've engineered, I don't know if you can engineer it well enough.
Our dump gates are only designed to just handle our irrigation water, not extra.
And I think that's what we need to realize is how do we tell our story to get that in front of people, to get it engineered correctly, you know, and get the indication, the flow, the level indication. You know, we talked about, you know, level indication of the canal, so that we know that our gates, when we open those gates, and now trust me, our floodgates, you know, we just got them so that we can open them, you know, from your phone. And, you know, that was the grant money helping us.
Mayor, can I point something out?
Sure.
Maybe a resource to help this whole thing. And a lot of you old timers that have farms and stuff here will remember this. We never really had this problem before 20 or 30 years ago. I think that the gas companies that have put probably close to 40 or 50 miles of 18-foot wide roads in, and my dad's farm over there, mine and my family's now, we never seen this type of flooding. It's the Howard Wash that he pointed out. We never seen this before 25 or 30 years ago when they put all them oil well roads in. So there is I believe if we went for you, ain't gonna be me. I'm one of the ones getting flooded every year.
Right.
Only I've been flooded just about every other or every third year for the last 30 years because of what's went on there. If you went to them and take all them roads into consideration, I believe that is a major difference in now and 40 years ago, and even back when the canal was designed. So I don't know if Anadarko, or they change their name every 3 weeks, but whoever that is, I'm sure that they would be willing to help us somehow put some retention basins in.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely.
The fact of the matter is, if you got 20 miles of roads and well pads that are packed down solid gravel, that's not going to soak up as much water as grass and sagebrush and trees. And I'm telling you that it's kind of, it hasn't been mentioned here tonight, but there's a ton of that has happened from Helper to out past the airport. So
I think it's urban, not urban. Would be urban.
Well, but I think he's right. Because from Dave's picture, I was thinking, you know, the question was asked about, you know, adding water from Wood Hill, and from his picture, I thought, yeah, they did. And, you know, that extra, yeah, to protect the gas company and stuff. And I could be wrong, but.
When I was younger, some of that was, some of them little cross ditches were made right about the same time that they was putting those gas well roads in. So there was some consideration. There was some small ponds. There was actually a diversion made at the head of our fields because the second year after the roads went in through our area, my dad's field got flooded. But we've been dealing with it ever since. And we need to work together and figure it out.
You know, Harvey, I just found this card in my wallet. His name is Kurt Rasmussen.
Yeah.
He works with Urban, and he
is the nicest guy, and I know him, so I will call him tomorrow and see if there's anything.
He's more than willing. He's working with us on a situation we have up in the coast where we got water that is it spring? Is it coming off the gas wells? Is it coming out of our water tank? And they sent a gentleman from Texas, one of the executives,
Do you
to,
want to follow up and talk to this guy, or do you want me to?
or you can talk to him. But that's what I'm saying. And back to your point, yeah, Kirk will be more than happy. And I know Commissioner Jensen gave me that contact information to help us with our situation and price. So, does anybody have hi, John?
We need some like that, break the ditches up, get the street sweepers out for right now, help all these people that got flooded out before we go any farther.
Yeah.
No, I agree with this. Water bars across the road. When I was a kid, there was never a water bar across. What do you have? It all run down the east side, down along, down around to that concrete cement pond, down to the city's got all the equipment.
Yeah.
That's where it went.
Yeah. Commissioner, I don't know if you want to talk about the issues.
Well, we've had a good conversation with all of you. We appreciate the help. The county's committed to looking above the canal, putting in some of these structures. The county's committed to working on this, and we have been. The NRCS has been contacted, so we expect that they'll come and bring their team of engineers to look. They will make recommendations on what they will help fund, and it depends on if there's funding available. So I've been involved with one project up in Price Canyon, where the bear fire caused all the damage up there, and so and Justin, you've been through how many of these? 3. So it's not new. It doesn't happen overnight. So we're in motion, and we wanted to give you an update that we're working on that. And as far as the roads go, we need to get our road guys out there and.
Friday night, it flooded across the 750 north, flooded again across there by the old dairy, and up the route.
Okay.
Nothing but boulders and rocks.
We'll have to go look there.
760, yeah.
Okay.
Flooded his house.
Okay.
On my driveway, because I've got silt mud, and I can't get in and out of my driveway. It doesn't dry, and you can't walk on it.
Yeah, we'll get the road guys out there. I know they're in the middle of projects. They spent several days out there, but I'm not sure where they're at today. Okay. Okay. Pardon?
The tater and the street sweeper, that only stopped at the DNR office.
Okay.
I have pictures of it too. It only stopped there. It didn't go all the way up. It didn't go to like 750 West and up around. But they didn't have it down. They drove on, but they didn't have it down.
Okay. I'll work on them. Okay. Well, thank you. Another question? Yeah, I guess if you put it out in the road, we'll pick it up. Yeah.
We've been cleaning it up.
Okay.
got a guy with a shovel on a broom out for 4 days.
I'm letting you know who has a file. I'll see if you come and tell mine. You know, I don't have a plow, but I was going to say, if anybody wants to pull their ditches before next year, you know, make sure the ditches, I have an old ditcher that I'm not using. You would have to find a tractor in your area for someone to do that, but I've got a ditcher that I would donate to pull ditches. I don't have a plow.
Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight.